Hi guys, my name is Sophia, I'm the 1 in 1.3, welcome to the family. And in this video I'm going to be talking to you about some of the scientific curriculum, or some of the science curriculum that I've used with my children over the years, and some of the curriculum that I'm using with my children right now as they're finishing up their ICCE general level. In my last video I kind of waffled, but I spoke a lot about some of the experiences that we had in our homeschool journey. But now I've just literally pulled off my shelf some of the scientific books and things I could find. Yeah, so I want to show you some of these. And yeah, I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about the science curriculum that we've used really. I've got a bit more in the shed. So I'm going to go to the shed in a minute because I love you guys so much. Hopefully I'll find some of the old scientific work that the kids did. Hope there's no spiders there. And then I'll go into the house because I've made my front room a bit like a classroom too, because we've got books everywhere. The house is literally so messy, it's so embarrassing. Nobody's allowed inside my house at the moment because I've got books everywhere. I'm not sure if you're a homeschooler, maybe you're much more organised than I am, but I feel like my house is just such a mess sometimes. It's such a mess. Even the fact that I'm recording this video when I've got all this stuff like behind me, it's like my daughter's like her sewing machines out here, I've got clothing over here, I've got a pattern underneath here that she's working on. In the corner over there, I've got all my envelopes, all my schoolwork in there. It's just absolutely crazy. I'm like, wow, I think Sunday we're gonna have a real deep clean because it's just too much. I think I'm gonna do another video about the ICCE and the stresses that's involved with trying to get your kids qualified at the same time. 2 children, if you have twins or triplets doing ICCE curriculum, I just don't even know what to say. But anyway, back to the video. So I've just, like I said, I've got books I've got on my lap here, books in the shed, I'm going to get that in a minute, and also books within my house. And I'll show you what we've used, and maybe you'll have some ideas about what you can use with your children too. I don't want the spiders to get me, so I'll hide myself a little bit as I go into my shed, so I can show you some books. Okay, so, let me fix this camera. After all that, I couldn't find it, and I got so distracted. My children tried to diagnose me with all kinds of things because I'm literally so distracted. As an adult, as a child, I was always distracted. I always had issues with like paying attention or being distracted or forgetting things. Anyway, so this video is supposed to be about the science curriculum. I'm so sorry. If you're new to this page, you'll realise that my videos are like this. But let's rewind. Okay, science. Some of the books that I found quite helpful when teaching my kids science was The Core by Leigh Bortins. She has a science unit on here and explains to you the best ways to teach science to your children. I found this really beneficial. So she has a science unit on page 179. And this just talks about the best ways to teach your children science. Right, so I'm just going to read a little bit from here. And this makes sense now. When I did my other video, it makes sense as to why I did a lot of questioning with my children. So it says over here, some of the aspects of science from the classical method would be learning to observe the world, learning scientific facts, memorizing questions and answers from the following categories: biology, earth science, environmental science, astronomy, physical science, and chemistry, and a few other things. So the main aim of this book is to foster curiosity in your child. But this book is really good in terms of getting you to find out the philosophy that I use with my homeschool children. So I'd highly recommend getting The Core. If you'd like me to do like a complete book review on this book, then I'll do that separately. But for now, I'm going to move on to the other books that I've used within my homeschool. Okay, so another book that's really good in building your homeschool would be this one, The Well-Trained Mind by Susan Wise Bauer. I haven't got the front cover, so it doesn't look like this if you look for it on Amazon. But this one's quite good. It goes into a lot more detail and it's broken down into the same 3 phases: the foundation phase, the logic phase, and the rhetoric phase. But it gives you like it discusses in there an average time that you could spend on science per week with your children. Yes, it's got like an average timing there. Can you see it? And it also just kind of builds up with reading lists that you can use with your children, experiments that you can do with your children, the sort of questions you can ask with them, and it breaks it up into what a child would need to know in the foundation phase, what a child would need to know in the logical phase, or what a child needs to know in the rhetoric phase. It talks a lot about not ignoring chemistry and physics, because a lot of other curriculums do ignore those 2 subjects. It talks to you about the fact that you can build upon science concepts, chemistry concepts and physics concepts from a really young age, and not to neglect those memorization techniques from a young age. And this is what I felt like within my homeschool curriculum. Like I said, I did a lot of practical things with the children. I did use curriculum as well, but I felt like you need to have a curriculum as well to kind of really build up those skills. And learning science from an early age is really beneficial so that they can kind of really get those keynotes and those memorization of facts so they can really understand them. But yeah, I don't really know what to say. So you can let me know if you have any questions about this book, and maybe we can do another review on this book also. Other things that we've done. Lots of other books reviews. Physics for You. This is a bit for when they got a little bit older. quite a good book at looking at it from a national curriculum perspective. So yeah, if you want me to talk about them in a lot more detail, a lot more depth, then leave a comment down below and I'll do that for you now. But I'm just going to go into the house to get the science pieces. Okay, so I'm going to show you some of our science paces. A pace is just a small workbook that you use if you're doing the A.C.E curriculum. But before I go into my paces, I just wanted to say a bit more about the core, which is the last book that I showed you, because I feel as though, that's my dog, I feel as though I didn't really give it much justice in my last part of the video. So the core is really good in giving a foundation to the classical education method. Now Leigh Bortins, I think her name is, she's like researched different philosophies in education. She talks about the good and the bad within the education system, and she gives ideas of how you can improve it and make it better. So this book is quite good even if your children go to school, if your children go to a private school, a maintained school, or homeschooled. It's quite good for you to see how the foundation works. It's tried and tested by me, and I highly agree with parts of the method. Now, I wouldn't say that my homeschool is classical education orientated, but I'm eclectic in style, which means that I like to blend many different aspects of different curricula, picking out things that I like and what I don't like. So with the classical method, you use lots of memorization tools. So for example, for science, you would sing the song. There's one of the songs that we learned was, what are the classifications of living things, kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genesis, species, classes of living things. So it just comes to my head, you know. So she does a lot of things with learning how to use song to help your child remember facts about science, and they learn these facts from a very young age. Like 4-year-olds are learning these facts. Now, a 4-year-old might not necessarily understand what they're saying, but by the time they get to the logic phase, which is a little bit higher in age, that child might start asking questions about what they had just previously learned, and by the time they get to the rhetoric phase, they will dig in a lot deeper. So the core is a fantastic curriculum. If you do not own it, I would say that you should try and get a copy of the book, read through it for yourself, and you'll be pleasantly surprised. Yeah, so like I said, my children moved on to paces as they got a little bit older, and these paces, there's 12 of them per unit, and they basically do lots of reading. So it's like a reading curriculum where they have to read lots of information about science, and there's also lab reports that you do as you go up through the curriculum. So right now my children are on level 9, so they have to do lab reports where they watch a video online and they basically answer lots of questions. So when you get a pace like this, you can buy them from the shop. If you're a member of the homeschool curriculum, you get discount prices. So every pace has a number on the side which shows you which level, and it works chronologically. You do one pace, you do a test. If the child scores less than 80%, they repeat the test. If they score more than 80%, they progress to the next pace. So it starts like this. Then you have your goals on the front page. The goals will tell you what you're learning. Then it moves on to the scripture verse that you have to learn for every pace. And then it has like symbols and sound charts to help remember how to read, basically. It just kind of reminds you how to sound things out, pronounce it. At the bottom it's got a student, it's got a supervisor initial, so you've got to make sure that your child has memorized the scripture verse as well. That goes at the bottom down there. And over here just tells you when it's been published, because they do update the paces every now and again. Okay, on the next page there's lots of comics involved which helps with the character trait. So this one's about being sincere, and then it moves into the science. So for example, this is the old pace, this is like level 8, so my children have done this one already. So for example, you've got the word that you're going to be learning in the pace, the pronunciation, which goes back to the sound chart that you just saw, and then the definition of each word. So your child's got to learn that, which will help them with their scientific inquiry, scientific understanding. And then you've got lots of fill in the blank activities. That bit down there helps them to put those vocabulary words into the right spaces to show that they understand the vocabulary. So this particular pace was about the wonders of creation. There's some parts of it, so they'd read all about the wonders of creation, lots of reading over here, and then you just keep reading through the booklet and then just simply ask questions. And it tests them all the time on what they've learned along the way. So each page, so that's the next page, there'll be questions relating to what they just read. They do this, they score it, and then they move on to the next part. So this curriculum was quite good. It's a reading curriculum, so it's quite good for every subject that the child does. But to bring it to life a bit more, you have to do lots more experiments. There is experiments in, I think it's every pace, there should be an experiment in there to do, but I like to, not right now, when they were younger, I like to get other books where they can do other experiments with, but as they get older, the paces do become a lot more demanding and they don't have as much time to explore different things because it does take a long time to get through the paces. I have got a video coming out very soon about the ICCE because, wow, we're on our way to nearly finishing it. But this is still a good option if you want something chronological for your children's homeschool. So for me, I felt like even though we're doing lots of those activities that I mentioned in my last video, we were doing lots of activities and we're having loads of fun about, you know, different situations in our life, it got to a point that as the children started progressing through the years, I wanted to make sure that they really were learning science in the way that their peers were. Now that's not the method that everybody chooses to use, but me as a primary school teacher as well, I like to know that my children are at the same level as other peers their age or above that level, basically. So I quite like testing and things like that. So that's my guilty admittance there. But I quite like testing. I quite like to see. I like to see results, basically. So yeah, that's a curriculum choice that I think is a good curriculum choice that you could use as well if you want something like that. I've got 2 more books I want to show you. The famous Exploring Creation Series. This is a really good series. So as I was saying, if you're the sort of parent who likes planning for yourself and likes not really having like a step-by-step, day-by-day, how many pages, things like that to do, this works really well for you. So in each of these booklets, there's about 14 lessons. In this one, there's 14 lessons in here. So from the 14 lessons, what you'd probably do is work out how much weeks you're homeschooling for the year. So if you're homeschooling for 28 weeks in the year, then you know that you can complete 1 lesson every 2 weeks. But within that 1 lesson, it's packed with so much that you'd have to figure out how many how much content you would cover within those weeks, how many days you spend on it, how many hours you spend on it. So for example, rather than me rambling, let me just read what it says. So it says here, lesson increments. There are 14 lessons in this text. Each lesson should be broken up into manageable time slots depending on your family's schedule and the ages and attention spans of your children. Most lessons can be divided into 2-week segments. Oh, I got it quite right. The Anatomy Notebook Journal, which is a separate booklet that looks similar, but it's where the children can write inside. The Anatomy Notebook and Journal, designed to accompany this text, includes a suggested schedule that follows a 2-week sequence. This schedule takes the guesswork out of how to effectively complete the course. So that's quite good. So if you want to have guesswork, you don't want to think about how to do it yourself, you can buy those notebooks as an addition and work with those as well. But it says, however, if you choose to complete the course without the notebook and journal, simply read half the lesson during the first week and the other half during the second week, leaving time for the various assignment projects and experiments. I would say though, because my children were quite young when we did this, and I think we only got to lesson 3 from the whole book, and I felt like there was so much in there that I wasn't sure how much they were retaining, and that's why I switched to the A.C.E program, because I felt like it followed a timetable in the system that was easier for me to follow. Being a homeschool, being a single parent, being a working parent, having 3 children of different ages, I just felt like it was something that was a bit too much for me, doing it in the method that I quite liked. But in saying that, most of the science that my children have learned and remembers has come from these books. So from this one over here and the astronomy one, most of what they remember from their science and their homeschool days has really been from these books. So that says a lot about the curriculum really. But it is a lot to deal with. So like I said, in lesson 1, I'll show you a picture of it right here of what's covered. And as you can see, that's quite a lot of information there. DNA, RNA, cell creation. At the very bottom of each lesson, it talks about what do you remember. So children get to talk about what they remember. So for my children, they all had something different that they remembered, even though they've worked on the same things. It's got notebook activities, if you have the notebook, personal person project, and another project at the end of each unit. But I would highly recommend these books. And the last one is not really a curriculum as such, but it goes into detail about the periodic table. So every child needs to learn the periodic table. It's just a normal notebook. But I love this because I'm a visual learner and I like the way the pictures look. So I'm going to use my phone to show you some of the pages. But for now, I'll just show you what some of the images look like. So this book is really good in breaking down the different elements and what they can do. So for example, nickel, it will talk about the fact that nickel is widely used in coins, as reflected by the fact that there is a US coin called a nickel. Obviously we don't have a nickel, we're in the UK, but you can just talk to the children about what we have over here, the pound and things like that, pennies, pounds. Without further qualification, making the word nickel both an element and a denomination. And that's information I wouldn't give you a nickel for. So it's got a bit of comedy in there. But yeah, these books are really good, and I find my children just kind of looking through them to kind of find out more about the elements and to bring it to life. So again, if you have an older child, maybe someone that's doing GCSEs or, maybe someone that's doing GCSEs or Key Stage 3, even younger really, this book is really good to get. It's also got flashcards that come with it as well. So yeah, I like this one as well. I've got 2 other books, but I'm not going to talk about these ones because they're quite outdated now. They're under the old curriculum that my son did when he was younger. So I won't talk about these, but these were quite good as well. They kind of aligned to the national curriculum. That really helped us as well. But yeah, like I said, if you have any comments or any questions about the curriculums that I've just spoken about, leave a comment down below and I'll try my best to answer them. Please like and subscribe my videos, and come back again for another video. All right, I'll speak to you soon. God bless. Bye.